Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. "Please, someone help my daddy." The boy's words echoed through the concrete emptiness of the underground parking garage, but the few passing figures quickened their pace, eyes deliberately fixed on phones or car keys. 7-year-old Tyler clutched his teddy bear tighter, his small hand trembling as he stood beside the car where his father sat motionless behind the wheel. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting harsh shadows across the nearly deserted level. 3 business people hurried past, briefcases swinging, conversations stopping only momentarily at the sight of the crying child before resuming with uncomfortable laughter. The boy's tears reflected the cold light as he helplessly watched his father's chest barely rising with each shallow breath, a thin line of saliva trailing from the corner of his mouth. Tyler's small fingers reached through the half-open window, desperately shaking his father's limp arm. "Wake up, Daddy. Please, wake up," he whispered, his voice cracking. What the hurrying strangers couldn't see was the tall figure that had just emerged from the elevator, keys in hand, whose attention was caught not by his waiting vehicle, but by the sound of a child's desperate pleas echoing through the concrete cavern. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. Keanu Reeves had just finished a late meeting about his next film project. Exhausted after 12 hours of script discussions, all he wanted was to drive home. But something about the boy's voice cut through his fatigue. He paused, watching as a woman in a business suit skirted widely around the scene, her eyes deliberately fixed on her phone. A security guard stood near the payment machines, scrolling through social media, apparently deaf to the child's pleas. The garage's stark lighting cast everyone in an unnatural pallor, the boy's tears glistening like tiny diamonds on his cheeks as he continued to shake his father's arm with increasing desperation. "Just call someone," a passing man muttered to his companion while glancing at the scene. "I'm not getting involved in whatever that is." His friend nodded in agreement as they quickened their pace toward the exit, the sound of their expensive shoes echoing against concrete walls, their reflections multiplying in the windows of parked cars like silent witnesses to their indifference. Keanu felt something shift inside him, a familiar weight of responsibility that had nothing to do with his public persona and everything to do with basic humanity. He changed direction, moving toward the boy in the silent car. The child looked up as Keanu approached, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. The teddy bear in his grip had seen better days, one button eye hanging loose, its fabric worn thin from years of being clutched during moments of childhood anxiety. Now it was pressed against the boy's chest like armor against a world of adults who kept walking past. "Hey there," Keanu said softly, crouching down to meet the child at eye level. "I'm Keanu. What's your name?" "Tyler," the boy whispered, his voice small but with a note of relief that someone, finally someone, had stopped. "My daddy won't wake up. He was talking and then he just stopped and his eyes closed and he won't answer me." The words tumbled out in a rush, punctuated by hiccuping sobs. "The people won't help. They just look at us and walk away. Is my daddy going to die?" The question hung in the stale garage air, weighty with a child's understanding of mortality and his fear of it. Keanu gently placed his hand on Tyler's shoulder while assessing the man in the driver's seat. He was pale, perspiring heavily despite the garage's chill, his breathing shallow but present. A quick glance showed no visible injuries, but the man's lips had a bluish tinge that set off alarm bells in Keanu's mind. This wasn't someone drunk or merely sleeping. This was a medical emergency unfolding while people walked past, their eyes averted, their conscience quieted with muttered excuses. A woman stopped several yards away, her recognition obvious as she raised her phone, clearly preparing to capture the scene for social media. "Oh my God, that's Keanu Reeves." "Should I help?" she asked her companion, though her attention remained on positioning her phone for the best angle rather than moving toward the actual emergency. Her friend tugged her arm, whispering, "Don't get involved. Just get the video. It'll go viral for sure." Their whispers carried in the concrete echo chamber, a testament to the priorities of those who saw a potential viral moment rather than a child's terror and a man's life hanging in the balance. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching. Keanu's expression hardened as he quickly assessed the situation. The man's symptoms suggested a possible heart attack or stroke. Either way, minutes mattered. He pulled out his phone while keeping his other hand firmly on Tyler's shoulder, a physical anchor for the terrified child. "I need an ambulance at Westfield Underground Parking, Level B3, he said calmly but firmly into the phone. "Adult male, approximately 40, unconscious but breathing, possible cardiac event." He provided the location details with precision, his voice carrying the authority that came from decades in an industry where clear communication under pressure was essential. Tyler looked up at him with wide eyes that simultaneously held fear and the desperate relief of having an adult finally take control. "Are you a superhero?" he whispered, a child's mind connecting the calm competence before him with the characters he might have seen on screen. "No, buddy," Keanu replied gently. "Just someone who stopped to help." He kept his attention split between Tyler, the unconscious father, and the growing crowd of onlookers who, having recognized the actor, were now gathering at what they deemed a safe distance, close enough to record, but not to assist. Phones emerged like periscopes above the small crowd, their camera lights adding a surreal glow to the scene as the security guard finally approached, drawn more by the celebrity presence than the emergency itself. "Excuse me, sir, is there a problem here?" the security guard asked, his tone suggesting he was more concerned about potential liability than the unconscious man or the crying child. "Yes, there's an emergency," Keanu replied firmly. "This man needs immediate medical attention. I've called an ambulance, but we need to check if he has medication in the car. Could you help us?" The guard hesitated, his eyes darting between Keanu and his growing audience of fellow bystanders. "I'm not really authorized to. This boy's father might be dying," Keanu cut in, his voice low but carrying an undercurrent of steel that silenced the guard's protests. "Authorization isn't the issue right now. Humanity is." The words hung in the air, cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. A few people lowered their phones, shame finally penetrating their spectator mentality. The woman who had been positioning for the best recording angle slowly put her phone in her pocket, her face flushing as the reality of the situation and her initial response to it sank in. Tyler squeezed his teddy bear tighter as Keanu gently asked, "Tyler, does your dad take any medicine? Does he have a special bag or case he carries?" The little boy nodded, pointing to the back seat. "He has a special pen for when his sugar gets low. He showed me once. It's in his blue bag." Keanu immediately recognized the implication. Hypoglycemia. Potentially severe. "We need to get into the car," he said, turning to the guard. "Now." Something in Keanu's tone, perhaps the absolute certainty that transcended his public image and spoke to basic human decency, finally spurred the guard into action. He produced a slender tool designed to help people who locked their keys in their cars and quickly worked the driver's door open. The crowd had grown, Their collective breath held as Keanu directed the guard to the blue bag while he checked the man's pulse, weak but present. Tyler stood close by Keanu's side, his small hand now clutching the actor's jacket, finding stability in this stranger who had stepped forward when everyone else stepped back. "I found it," the guard said, pulling out an insulin kit containing a glucagon injection pen. "Do you know how to use this?" Keanu asked Tyler gently, holding up the pen. The boy shook his head, tears welling again. Keanu quickly examined the pen, grateful for the clear instructions on its side. Years of working with props and following precise choreography now served a far more important purpose as he carefully prepared the injection. "Your daddy has low blood sugar," he explained to Tyler in simple terms. "This medicine will help him until the doctors come. I need you to be brave for just a little longer." As Keanu administered the injection to the unconscious man's thigh, following the pen's instructions precisely, sirens finally became audible in the distance. The growing crowd had formed a semicircle, their phones mostly lowered now, their expressions shifting from excitement at celebrity spotting to the sobering reality of witnessing an actual life or death scenario. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk. The paramedics arrived with practiced efficiency, their uniforms and equipment cutting a path through the onlookers. If they recognized Keanu, they gave no indication, their focus entirely professional as he succinctly briefed them on what had happened and the steps he'd taken. Severe hypoglycemia, administered glucagon about 3 minutes ago. Patient started showing mild response in the last minute. Subtle eye movement. Slight change in breathing. The lead paramedic nodded appreciatively at the precise report while her partner began setting up equipment. "Good work. We'll take it from here. Are you a relative?" "No, just..." Keanu began, but Tyler interrupted. "He's my hero," the boy said simply, still holding on to Keanu's jacket. "Everyone else just walked past us." The paramedic's eyes softened as she glanced between the boy and Keanu, understanding dawning in her expression. "I see," she said, the two words carrying both professional acknowledgement and personal respect. "And what's your name, buddy?" "Tyler." "That's my dad, David. Is he going to be okay now?" The paramedic checked the glucose monitor she'd attached to David's finger. "His blood sugar is coming up, which is a good sign. We're going to take good care of him." She turned to Keanu. The glucagon was exactly what he needed. Without it... She didn't finish the sentence, but her meaning was clear. Timely intervention had been crucial. David's eyelids fluttered, consciousness gradually returning as the glucagon and the paramedic's additional treatment took effect. His first words were barely audible, a confused whisper. "Tyler. Where's Tyler?" "I'm here, Daddy," the boy responded immediately, relief flooding his tear-stained face. The paramedics allowed Tyler to move closer while they continued working, understanding the emotional medicine the boy's presence provided. As David became more aware, his eyes widened with recognition when they landed on Keanu. "You're," he started, confusion evident. "Just someone who was passing by," Keanu said quietly, deflecting the attention. "Your son is the real hero here. He stayed right with you and kept asking for help until someone listened." The crowd had grown substantial now, their collective witness to this unfolding human drama causing a hush that made the garage feel almost sacred. The woman who had initially raised her phone for a viral video opportunity now stood with tears streaming down her face. The security guard, who had hesitated to help, shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact with everyone. "We need to transport him to the hospital," the lead paramedic announced, preparing David for movement to the stretcher. "Blood sugar's stabilizing, but we need a full workup." Tyler's face fell with sudden anxiety. "Can I go with him? I don't want to be alone." Keanu knelt beside the boy, their eyes level. "Of course you can go with your dad, buddy. That's where you belong." As the paramedics prepared to wheel David toward the ambulance, he reached out a weak hand toward Keanu. "Thank you," he said, his voice still thin but filled with genuine emotion. "I don't know how to—" "No thanks needed," Keanu interrupted gently, shaking the man's hand. "Just take care of yourself and that brave kid of yours." Tyler suddenly extended his worn teddy bear toward Keanu. "Mr. Button wants to thank you too," he said, his small face serious despite the childish gesture. The moment crystallized something profound in the sterile concrete space. A pure exchange that cut through celebrity, social status, and the digital walls people had erected between themselves and genuine human connection. Keanu accepted the teddy bear with appropriate solemnity, examining the loose button eye before responding. "That's very kind of Mr. Button, but I think he should go with you to the hospital. Your dad might need his help too." A faint smile broke through Tyler's worry as he reclaimed his stuffed companion. The paramedics had finished securing David to the stretcher and began moving toward the elevator. Tyler walked alongside, one hand reaching up to hold his father's while the other clutched his bear. Just before they reached the elevator, Tyler suddenly broke away and ran back to Keanu, throwing his arms around the actor's waist in a tight hug. "Thank you for hearing me," he whispered, the simple words carrying a weight that silenced every witness to the scene. Then he ran back to join his father, slipping his small hand back into David's outstretched one as the elevator doors opened. "It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it." As the elevator doors closed on Tyler and his father, the spell that had held the onlookers in rapt attention seemed to break. A collective exhalation rippled through the crowd, followed by the shuffle of feet and murmured conversations. Some people looked down at their phones, the screens still showing recording apps open, but their fingers hesitated over the post buttons. The moment they had captured felt too intimate, too genuine for casual social media consumption. Keanu turned to leave, his mission complete, only to find his path blocked by the security guard whose earlier reluctance had so starkly contrasted with the actor's immediate action. "Mr. Reeves, the guard began, his face flushed with what appeared to be shame. "I should have done something sooner. I'm sorry." Keanu paused, studying the man's face. There was no anger in his response, just a quiet intensity. We all have moments when we can choose to be the person we want to be, or the person it's easiest to be. Today was one of those moments for everyone here. The words carried through the garage, landing heavily on each person who had initially chosen to walk past a child in distress. The woman who had first raised her phone for a viral opportunity stepped forward, her device now clutched in her hand like something shameful. "I was going to post this," she admitted, her voice small but audible in the concrete echo chamber. It seemed like such a perfect viral moment. Famous actor saves the day. But it wasn't about that at all, was it? Her eyes met Keanu's, searching for something. Absolution, perhaps, or understanding. "It was about a boy and his father," Keanu replied simply. "Everything else was just noise." She nodded slowly, then deliberately deleted the video as others watched. A ripple effect spread through the small crowd as, one by one, people checked their phones and, in a silent pact of decency, deleted what they had recorded. The action spread like a quiet wave. Not everyone, but enough to feel like a collective reclamation of humanity over virality. 3 days later, a small package arrived at the hospital where David was recovering. Inside was a teddy bear, not Tyler's worn companion, but a new one with 2 securely fastened button eyes and a card that read simply, heroes come in all sizes. Rest and recover well. K, double quote. No cameras captured Tyler's delight or David's grateful tears. No social media posts went viral detailing the follow-up gift or the fact that Keanu had also arranged to cover the hospital bill. But something else did spread. A story told person to person without digital embellishment about choices made in an underground parking garage late one night. A week later, the same security guard encountered a teenager having a panic attack near the payment machines. This time, there was no hesitation. He immediately went to help, his actions swift and compassionate. When the girl's mother later thanked him, calling him a hero, he shook his head. "I'm not a hero," he said, echoing words he had heard in that same space days before. Just someone who stopped to help. The simple truth rippled outward, a reminder that real heroism isn't about capes or cameras or viral fame. It's about hearing the cries that others pretend not to hear and having the courage to answer them. Wow, what a story! If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think.